What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of the Dads, Not Always on Wrestling. First episode of 2024, and doing something a little bit different today. We're actually broadcasting from my StreamYard instead of Jeff's, hence the no intro video.
Yes, yes.
Just for whatever reason, I guess I had taken it out to make space for other stuff and forgot to add it and couldn't find it in time to re-add it. So we're going on a whim here. We're doing things a
Woo!
little bit differently today. So
Yeah.
hey, you know what? It's the first one of the year, so why the hell not?
That's it. It is January 8th, brother. We're a week into the year. How we doing out there?
Yes.
Oh, Lordy.
Good to see everyone in the chat room showing up.
Love it. You love to see it. Big G, man. It's awesome. It's gonna be another interesting week. Not as much watch along crazy, thankfully. As
Right? I don't know
shit.
if I could do another week where we have a watch along every day of the week.
At least not right now. Need a little bit of a
No.
break.
Well, no. This Saturday we'll have two simultaneously.
Oh shit, that's right. God damn it. Oh Lord. No rest for the
Just
weary.
just be thankful that New Japan isn't running during the same time as Hard to Kill, and they're actually starting theirs at 7 Pacific,
That's
because
fair.
otherwise we'd have 3 running simultaneously.
Yeah.
We're only not doing that one because it's going to cut into open mic night,
Right, right,
and
right.
we need our panelists for the actual show.
Yeah, it's I'm sure Noah would be willing to do both, but at the same time, probably a little challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But man,
before we get too much into the show for today, I would like to bring attention to the ticker. We
yes.
do have a new policy that has gone into effect across the multiverse media.
Yes.
It is going to take a little bit of getting used to on our ends. So if we budget a little bit, so be it. But
Mm,
we are no longer going to stop the flow of things to address non super chatted comments.
right.
We will still bring your comment up on the screen as we always have. We just won't stop to address it, respond to it. You go and you watch just about any other wrestling channel that does a wrestling podcast that is monetized, they do the same thing. They
Right.
only stop their flow for super chats. It's something we discussed
That's
as a whole, and it's something we've all agreed to. So
right.
if you feel like you're being ignored, you probably are because you're not super chatting. We're not
Right.
trying to be dicks about it.
Yeah.
We're being real. We're being upfront.
That's it.
So that being said, before we get into the topic today, how the hell are you, Jeff?
Oh, I feel like absolute dog shit. It just
You
I'm just
look
being
it
real.
too.
Yeah, I feel it look like absolute hell. It's a beautiful Monday here in Santa Clarita.
Oh, you know
Again,
what? We're not 5 minutes in yet. I was going to curse real quick. It may be nice outside, but I went down to the car this morning to take the kids to the school to 23-degree weather
yeah, yeah,
and
no,
ice on my windshield. That is not a beautiful day.
yeah.
No Mother Nature. That's a bad Mother Nature.
Yeah, we here in Southern California are not adjusted to temperatures that start with a 3 or a 2.
No.
Like no, like even 40. It's like okay, I suppose, but yeah, it's and out where you are in the high desert, man, it gets cold. I will say this: I didn't notice it because we were in such a craze hurry Friday morning when we picked Dylan up from his mom's. There were snowflakes hitting me and hitting the car when we got back to the car with Teresa and drove off there. So it got cold this weekend.
Yes.
And
Very
I
much
don't want
so.
it. Yeah, and Snow's very nice to look at. It's very pretty. It makes for beautiful backgrounds and cool scenery, but it is too motherfucking cold to be dealing with that shit. I
Now,
don't want
let
to.
me ask you. Let me ask you.
Yes, sir.
Would you rather deal with 25, 30-degree weather and possible snow,
Uh-huh.
or 100 and plus, dry ass desert,
Yeah.
walk outside and you're ready to just like melt heat?
Yeah. Having dealt with both in the last 12 months more than once, I will still take the cold. And I
Yes.
say that because cold, you can always bundle up. You can always, get warmer. You can always find a way to stay warm. If it gets too hot, there's only so much you can do before you start breaking laws of decency.
This is fair.
Just throwing that
This is
out there.
absolutely
And
fair.
and I will say to the folks in Arizona, if you're watching Arizona, turn the damn thermometer down, even now. Because when I go to see my friends do their live show on stage and I open the car door and they said, nope, I'm going to get fused to the concrete. I'm good. That's too damn hot.
Yeah.
I don't need to be stifled today. Thank you very much.
No. We did get a super chat from Big G, $5 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. When you
Yes.
guys get a chance to read my private messages, just hit me up. I'm really debating giving TNA a chance. I did read your private message, Big G.
Yes.
I will defer that to Jeff to make the decision, because at the end of the day, he's the man whose name is traditionally on the marquee and
Yes.
makes those calls.
I
I'm
will.
all for it. We can discuss it with him in private, but I'm all for it
Yeah.
because I'm all for expanding. But at the end of the day, it's a Meacham call.
Yeah.
And as far as debating giving TNA a chance, I'm doing the same thing, bro. I'm watching Hard to Kill, and I'm gonna watch the entire month of Impact, from the Impact after Hard to Kill
Yep.
leading up to No Surrender. And I'm
Yes.
gonna watch No Surrender.
Mm.
And if I can't get hooked in the product during that month plus,
Right.
I gave it a try.
Yes, you did. I will. I will say, I highly recommend anybody. Since we were talking about TNA and the top 10 stars of TNA of all time, and remember, keep in mind, folks, we're talking about the original TNA era, 2002 to 2016 or 17. So I recommend everybody, and I mean everybody that's going to give this new TNA wrestling branding a chance, go back and watch the last 3 weeks of Impact on Access, because the 2 weeks before the new year, they did the best of 2023 and talked about all the matches and the stars highlights. This last Thursday, they did the best of TNA. And I actually jotted down what they were talking about. They basically showcased each division, I guess is the best way I can put it, like separately, and talked about why TNA was as good as it was.
Mm-hmm.
With all respect to my boy, prior to the Hogan era.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, the Thursday night show was really cool. They showed the very first match in TNA history. Styles, Jerry Lynn, and Low-Ki versus the Flying Elvises. Oh boy. I love me some Siaki and Jimmy Yang, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's rough. The gimmick's rough. Wrestling's great. The gimmick's rough as hell. But they had that match. They had the match from Unbreakable at the end of the show, which, like, oh, see, this is the best of TNA right here. This is what this show is. So recommend watching those. I guess this coming Thursday is going to be a preview for Hard to Kill. It's probably going to be a conglomerate of everything. Like, here's where we were, here's where we are. See you Saturday.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which we will see you Saturday as well. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I have documented my TNA history on the channel before.
Yes.
My first pay-per-view was still during the weekly pay-per-view era.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the 1-year anniversary episode that they did,
Yep.
and they offered it for 1 penny.
Yeah. Yep.
And
I
so we
remember.
were like, wait a minute, a 2-hour wrestling pay-per-view for a penny?
Yeah.
Okay, what have we got to lose?
Right?
You go walk down any street across the greater 48 states, you're going to find a penny.
Oh, yeah.
It's like So what are you really losing here?
Right.
And we enjoyed it to the fact where me and my dad were like, well, they're $9.99 a week. So let's get next week's. We spent $10 on 2 pay-per-views.
There you go.
And we
Yep.
didn't get them every week. We'd maybe miss a week here, a week there. But at the end of the day, you're getting 4 shows a month for what WWF was charging at the time for their pay-per-views, $39.99.
Which was the gimmick. That was the
You
point.
know?
Yeah.
So you're getting 8 hours of wrestling pay-per-views and stellar matches as opposed to 3 hours.
Yeah.
It was great booking, and whoever's idea it was, whether it was Jeff and Jerry Jarrett's, whether it was Vince Russo's, whoever's idea it was great business sense because
Yep.
you got that stuff. And I would say from I can't really touch on the '02. I'd say from about '04
Yeah.
to about '08
Yeah.
was really like the glory days for me
And that's what
in
we're talking about
TNA.
today. So
Yeah, definitely. And we're gonna go ahead and get into the list, and we're gonna totally own the fact that in some of these we copped out and cheated.
oh yeah. Had to. Had to.
Yeah, had to.
You'll see
Because
why. Yeah.
yeah. And it'll make perfect sense to you when we start showing things. But when you think of TNA wrestling, 2 things come to mind as being
Yes.
standout. The
Yes.
Knockouts,
Yep.
which is Noah will tout is the greatest women's wrestling in the United States of America,
Yep.
and the X Division.
Oh yeah.
So coming in at number 10 is the X Division, are the greatest stars in TNA history. Now, some of these names will be repeated later on as their own standalones. This
Yes.
is just everybody in the TNA era that held the X Division championship.
Yes.
And let me take the ticker away so we can get the names on the bottom row there. Got to give some love to Trevor Lee, aka Cameron Grimes, and Mike Bennett, and Eddie Edwards, and Rockstar Spud, and Bobby Lashley, and Tigre Uno,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
everybody else. I mean, starting with AJ Styles,
First champion.
E, Jerry Lynn, Six Pac, Kaki Siaki, Kid
Oh my goodness.
Cash, The Amazing Red, Sabin, Michael Shane, Frankie Kazarian, P.D. Williams, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, Jay Lethal, Kurt Angle,
Yeah.
Johnny Devine, Sheikh Abdul Bashir, aka Davari. You got
Yes.
Eric Young, Alex Shelley, Suicide, Homicide, Douglas Williams, Robbie E, Abyss, Brian Kendrick, Austin Aries, Zima Ion, now known as Joaquin Wilde, Rob Van Dam, Kenny Keene, Sonata, and then of course I already named off the bottom row there.
Yeah. Sonata, who I believe is the reigning IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, correct? Or is that or no? I had the wrong
That's
name.
a Noah question.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
Noah
fair.
question.
That's fair. Somebody in the chat room help.
But I mean, these guys put the entirety of the company on their back.
Yep.
And carried it because it was not about weight limits.
Yeah.
It was about no limits. They
Yes.
took that WCW cruiserweight style and took it to the next level.
Yes, they did. It was the thing that made NWA TNA / TNA wrestling different than any other wrestling company on the planet. So much so that when I started, going out to indie shows and started working indie shows, I noticed there were either X Division championships or the like in almost every company I attended, worked with, whatever. And also guys bringing that championship, like AJ Styles, like Frankie Kazarian, like Chris Sabin, to PWG, to UPW, and defending that and bringing that style across country. You got to remember, TNA really was, almost shackled to the fairgrounds, the asylum for a while. and they moved to Universal and did their thing there. But that style has permeated. Some would argue that the No Limit style kind of led to the dumbing down, not dumbing down, excuse me, led to the almost unhealthy style that a lot of guys adopt now. But when you think about the longevity of a lot of people on that list, that graphic we showed, that are still wrestling or have stepped away and are doing agent roles, but aren't, completely debilitated at the end of the day, that style got them noticed. And most importantly, at least for the folks in the business side, got the company noticed and made it justified to charge that $10 a week, that $40 a month for as long as they did.
Yeah. I will go on record as saying, and you can dispute me if you want, without the X Division, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are not a thing.
No, I agree. 100%.
Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, as performers in their styles, don't adopt the styles that made them famous without the X Division.
No. Nope.
Not saying they wouldn't have been professional wrestlers.
Right.
Not saying they would have been decent or even amazing professional wrestlers, as in Omega's case.
Yes.
But the style that made them famous is essentially the X Division style.
Yeah. And Matt and Nick had the benefit of really getting their feet wet in the business when the X Division was still the new hip trending thing. So same with Kenny.
So moving on from the X Division, we're going to single out a couple of those guys now. The first of a few we're going to single out, but we're singling them out as a tag team. Coming in at number 9, the Motor City Machine Guns, Sabin and Shelley.
It is crazy to look at that picture. That's roughly 2000, I believe, 9 or 2010. Both those guys still at the company now. Both those guys on top of singles divisions now. Sabin is still the X Division champion 10 times over. And Alex Shelley's your reigning world champion. That shows how great these guys have been and continue to be all these years later. I love these guys to pieces. Sabin was responsible for one of the more memorable moments in XMV history that we can never air again. But
that's like 95% of XMV, so
yeah, it's one show we can probably air, and even then it's a Rocky Horror centric show. So, but I love both these guys.
You can air it, but do you really want to?
That's fair. But yeah, I adore both these guys. I think the world of Chris and Alex. I miss being able to see them on the regular. I get, the wrestling world winds the road how it does, but I never disliked either one of these guys. Such amazing talents in the ring and great tag team champions for TNA.
Yeah. And I mean, all I can say is if Sabin and Shelley are this low, you can just imagine the caliber of talent that we're going to have coming. Because these guys literally have done it all. They've been tag champs together. They've both been X Division champion. They've both been world champion.
Yep.
Sabin when it was still the TNA world title, Shelley as the Impact world champion.
Yep.
So it's like these guys have literally done everything on that there is to do in TNA. And you want to talk about a guy who we'll get to this other guy later, but you want to talk about a guy who really picked up the ball and threw the company on his back when another talent was starting to get a little bit aloof from the company because of his presentation.
Yep.
Chris Sabin, man, that fits that to a T.
Oh God, yeah.
Chris Sabin threw that company on his back. He's like, I may not be the biggest guy, I may not be the most believable champion, but Dixie, I got you.
Yeah, I would throw out there that he is the best option C cash in that we ever saw. It was just so unexpected that he would beat Bully Ray. He did it. And it was such a great moment for him and for all the fans of the X Division and of the Motor City Machine Guns and of Chris Sabin.
Yeah.
Very, very cool moment. Even if it was brief.
Coming in at number 8 is the first of, I'll say, probably 3 people that had kind of established themselves in other companies before coming to TNA. But TNA is really kind of what helped put them on the map and launch them in that stratosphere. Ron the Truth Killings.
Well, it looks exactly the same now.
Seriously. I mean, he had his year, whatever it was, run as K-Quick in WWF.
Yep.
But once the Road Dogg got released,
Yeah.
he was floundering and quit.
Yes. Yeah, it was rough for Ron for a while there,
It
unfortunately.
really was. And then came to NWA TNA, and they gave him the championship in either the 7th or 8th weekly pay-per-view, and he carried the belt for 100 and something days that first run.
Yep.
Honestly, the only reason I think they gave it to Shamrock in that initial pay-per-view is because they wanted Severn to come over. Severn couldn't come over. Okay, well, Shamrock Severn. Shamrock's a former UFC competitor. He's another legitimate name. Bam, you got the belt.
That is exactly right. That's what happened.
But it's like Shamrock, and I love Shamrock. I'm not trying to speak ill of Shamrock, but he wasn't going to be the guy to bring eyes to the prize.
No.
R-Truth was entertaining and charismatic enough that he was going to get that exposure, and especially in an era where, and let's just call it what it is, we hadn't had too many African American world champions at that point.
No.
Like Ron Simmons in WCW, and The Rock is half black. That's about all we had really had at that point as far as major company world champions.
Yeah, Booker toward the end of WCW, but literally the last year.
Thank you.
Like
Forgot about Booker for a split second there. So two and a half black world champions at that point.
Yeah.
And here comes Ron Killings taking arguably the most prestigious world championship in wrestling history.
Yep.
And throwing it over his shoulder, carrying that banner for TNA.
Yep.
And he would get another run later. And then, man, you think about the R-Truth we know and love today really started to evolve in TNA, thanks largely to 3 Live Crew.
Absolutely.
He was able to partner back up with the Road Dogg. They brought Conan into it.
Yep.
So now you have all aspects of the spectrum. You got the white boy, you got the Hispanic, and you got the black guy.
Yep.
All doing the gimmick, all being funny, all great on the mic, all exuding charisma.
Yes.
All believable champions in their own right.
Absolutely.
Freaking Truth and Road Dogg as tag champions, Truth and K-Dog as tag champions. Conan easily could have been a top contender for the X Division or the world title, but he kind of knew his role and just kind of played his position in the background.
Yes.
Ron Killings, man, again, despite having had that short WWF run, really grew into the performer we know today during his TNA run. And I think that's why he's on here. And again, there's a few other people that are going to pop up that maybe had runs in the WWF or other promotions, but TNA is really where that proverbial rose that grew from concrete. They really got that opportunity to shine.
And funny anecdote. I think we're gonna have one of these guys come up later, but I could be wrong. But no, they won't come up later. But we will talk about them, I'm sure. Road Dogg and it may have been Conan. Truth losing the NWA tag titles to Team Canada was the first championship change I had seen outside of a WWE or WWF event, because it was the first show we got. Maybe XPW, but as far as the major companies, the ones that are on pay per view or global television or whatever, the
Weekly
NWA tag
episodic
titles.
television.
Yes, the NWA tag titles were the first championships I saw change hands on a major scale outside of WWE, and it was Relive Crew and Team Canada. So just again, long tenure. Truth came back to television late last year, and he's still as good as he ever was, man.
Yep.
I love seeing Truth. He was one of the guys in TNA when we were first started out doing our shows that was always receptive, always willing to come on and act. I was gonna say act the fool, but act himself like the rest of us yahoos on that show. Just have fun with us. Great guy. Love Ron.
You know what? Talking about this and reminiscing about Truth and reminiscing about K-Quick and Road Dogg, can can we please have that reunion in the Rumble this year? Can we
I'm
make
saying.
that happen, please?
I'm saying. Yeah.
Like, have Road Dogg's music hit. Da-na-na-na. Oh, you didn't know? Do his whole shtick as he comes to the ring. And then,
Right.
like, the next entry, don't have it be what's up.
Right.
Have it be the old getting rowdy music.
Well, there you go. There you go. I
And
like
then
that.
here comes freaking Truth out there, and the two of them like look at each other in the ring, and they just start going, man, like they used to. That would be so dope.
What he needs to
Please,
do.
please, please, Hunter, if you're watching, and we know y'all watch, but if somebody up there is watching, please make that happen. Give me a K-Quick and Road Dogg reunion. And hell, just for the hell of it, give me a surprise entry from Conan.
I was going to say they're going to be in Florida anyway. Conan walks out, or even just the two of them. Oh wait, this ain't the Impact Zone. My bad. It just say nothing else. Just have him wrestle. Oh my god, I can't even trust it. I'm gonna start laughing again. Shit.
Yeah, if you're wondering why Jeff isn't doing a whole lot of talking today, it's because his voice is still killing him. He still has that cough, so that's why we were going to do two separate lists, but that's why we went ahead and we conjoined the list because we had enough similarities anyways.
Yeah, we did.
That just do this, and that way I can lead the conversation and everything. Now, number 7 and number 6 sparked a little bit of controversy between the two of us because I feel it should go one way. He feels they should be flip flopped. I'm going to tell you what, we're just going to show 7 and 6, and then let's get you guys in the chat room. Who do you think should be at which position? So, the way I have them here in the photo gallery, I have number 7, the Monster Abyss. And at number 6, I have the alpha male Monty Brown. Now, I'll go ahead and make my argument. I looked at this based off of the way that the name of the show was presented to me. Top 10 TNA stars. I get Abyss had championships that Monty Brown didn't do. I get that Abyss had a longer tenure that Monty Brown didn't have. But Monty Brown from the jump was presented as a star. He was their response to like The Rock. He was that charisma, the alpha male, hit you with the pounds, period. And he even did cross over to WWE ECW, got himself a WrestleMania match as Marcus Corvon. But once there was family issues, I believe it was a sister or somebody got sick,
Yeah.
Monty stepped away from the business. Priorities over passions, as we always like to talk about here on the Multiverse of Media. And
Yes.
his career just kind of fizzled.
Right.
Again, Abyss, world champion, X Division champion, tag champion. Like I get he's had the accolades, but I always felt that Monty was painted more as a star than Abyss was.
I can definitely agree that the presentation definitely favored Monty Brown being out there and being showcased as a star, and the stories he did with the Abyss and later the character Chris Park, Joseph Park, the lawyer or whatever. I can definitely see and agree with the presentation of the characters being lopsided as far as who's the bigger presented as a star. I just felt personally that Abyss, was able to adapt his character to, change up the presentation enough where he remained a star in the company throughout. I mean, God, he was with them well into the Impact rebranding. He's only been with WWE as an agent for a few years. So, other than that, he was a TNA guy. He was a TNA original.
Yeah.
He was on the first show, not as the best, but he's on the first show.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I felt I argued for Chris Park or Abyss more, but I definitely can see where the labeling star and the way that Monty was presented, had he had the longevity, it could be argued for sure.
What do you guys in the chat room think? Let us know. Who do you feel was the bigger star in TNA? Abyss or Monty Brown? That brings us to about the halfway point. And you know what happens after the halfway point, right, Jeff? We shill.
Oh yeah,
We
we're not
shill,
we're
we
not
shill,
those for
we
salesmen
shill.
here. Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to take a 40-second intermission and show you all the upcoming watch-alongs that are going to be coming across the Jeff Meacham Network, Multiverse of Media, beginning with Hard to Kill and the return of TNA Wrestling and going all the way to the Bash in Berlin. We will
We's
be
gonna die.
3, 2, 1. Here we go again. Right now, let's go. Me and you, toe to toe. We can rock, we can roll. Here we go again. Right now, let's go. Me and you, toe to toe. We can rock, we can roll. You see it.
As Jeff so eloquently put it before I hit the button, we's gonna die.
If I don't die today,
There's a lot of stuff coming up.
just
And
one.
we've even added Battle of the Belts this Saturday as well. The
Yes.
first time ever the Multiverse of Media will be doing simultaneous watch-alongs.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting production day.
I will go in and acknowledge this one because we did ask the chat. It says
Yes.
Abyss at the time, but Monty left a bigger impact on the business. It's a fair counterpoint there.
Yeah. Again, the discussion was, at the time, but yeah, I think when you look back, it's unfortunate because I dug the Monty Brown presentation. I was into it, and when he was out there, teaming with and then going against Jarrett for the NWA Championship, I was into the presentation. It's just it didn't, unfortunately, have the longevity that a lot of these guys you're going to see today do. Hell, like I said earlier, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley lumped into the number 10 spot, the X Division. The tag team, they're at number 9. Hell, I was pushing for Sabin on his own, and then I was like, okay, well, JJ made a valid point. It's like, well, we're going to showcase one. We need to showcase both. Okay, well, then we need to showcase everybody. It's like there's so many stars of this era that still have the career, the longevity, the accolades that they have and continue to obtain.
Yeah, I mean, our top 3 alone. One is the current reigning and defending AEW World Heavyweight Champion. One will be in a fatal 4-way at the Royal Rumble for the WWE Undisputed Universal Heavyweight Championship. And one of them won the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Championship last year.
That's right.
So all 3 of those in the top 3 are still competing.
Yes.
2 of them are reigning champions.
Yeah.
One of them has defended his title about as often as Roman Reigns, but I digress.
Yeah.
And the other one's going to be in the main event of the Royal Rumble coming up the end of the month. So it's like, that just goes to show how relevant these people are.
Yeah.
Speaking of relevancy, no, we're not talking about the island of relevancy.
Oh, okay. That's
Kicking off the second half of our list is another person who kind of made her name in the WWE before coming over to TNA and then going over back to the WWE and having a worse run than her first, if that was ever possible.
Right.
And then coming back to TNA, where she is now the reason why the knockouts are presented the way that they are.
Yes.
Gail Kim.
Yeah. Gail is the TNA knockout. She's
say what you will about Tracy Brooks.
Oh, I love Tracy.
And we love Tracy, but Gail Kim is the blueprint of the TNA knockout.
Yes. Tracy was able, when she came in, to establish the unbelievable beauty and the presentation, the look of a TNA knockout. And then Gail came over and it's like, yeah, I look great too, but I can also wrestle Blue Streak.
Yeah.
You know, Tracy, unfortunately for Tracy, never got to be a full-time active wrestler, but she made for hell of a presentation on television. And that's what it was about at that point. Whereas Gail, you know, like you said, had that run in WWE for a year and just kind of was there, unfortunately. Much like the women's division was as a whole at that point. If you really, you know, go back and look. Yeah.
Her inaugural run, her first run, wasn't that bad because you figure she won the women's championship in her debut match.
Right.
And then she had a pretty solid push up until she lost the belt.
No.
And then it was what it was.
Yeah, it was just one of those. She was the right person with the right look and the right ability at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't Trish Stratus.
She wasn't.
She wasn't. Yeah.
She wasn't Mickey.
Right. Man, she wasn't what the WWE brass thought would appeal to a broader audience.
Yeah.
And that was a mistake, I think, by them. But, you know, TNA, you know, Dixie and, you know, the writers and the people that run that company, okay, well, we got her. And she's even now an executive on television and also behind the scenes of helping, you know, establish what the knockouts are now.
Right.
Which is why we have an unbelievable match on Saturday between Trent and Jordan Grace, because of the way the knockouts have been allowed to be presented. As you said earlier, that Noah's talked about with us for a while, the greatest United States-based women's wrestling division. There is no disputing that in my mind. And it's because of Gail Kim.
I firmly agree with that. You know, that's why I made sure to put that in my presentation before throwing to her graphic. Like the knockouts division today would not be what it is were it not for Gail Kim.
Yep. And even finding the hybrids, as far as, they look great, but they also wrestle. The beautiful people are a great example of that.
Mhm.
Feuding with Gail helped them. Same with Taryn Terrell. God bless her. She's a stunt woman now, and she was getting into that before she came to WWE and then TNA. Her and the Dollhouse's program with Gail are really what made people aware of how good Taryn, Mia Yim, I forget the third partner's name. I'm sorry. She was in NWA for a while too. I do apologize for the name forgetting. I had it and then it went away. But those three women were put on the North American wrestling map working with Gail and working in TNA. Marty Bell. There it is. I got it. Marty Bell, Mia Yim, Jade, and the TNA, and Taryn benefited so much from working with Gail, and everybody that worked with Gail benefited. She is, as you said, this perfect, brother, the blueprint of what a TNA knockout, a TNA women's wrestler should be. And her and Kong were just so amazing together, too.
Absolutely. And that brings us to number 4. And this is another cheat that we did.
Yes.
But there's definitely a common denominator here. And that's a certain Tennessee cowboy, James Storm.
That's right.
America's Most Wanted, who for a while were managed by Gail Kim. You want to talk about storytelling and good transitioning?
Yes.
And Beer Money. And I made sure to find a picture of Beer Money that put Storm on that side so that baby Storm with his NWA title is with long hair scruffy drunkard Storm, like side by side, so you could see the change.
Oh my God, right?
Between the two.
Yeah.
I mean, NWA Tag Team Champion James Storm looks like he just graduated high school.
Right.
And he's cosplaying wrestler with his best friend.
Yeah, seriously.
No disrespect to AMW and their reigns as champion. But that looks like I just graduated high school and me and my buddy are going out pretending to be wrestlers. And then you look at the man in the picture next to you. It's like, holy shit, that's the same dude.
He's right.
And then Bobby Roode, long before he became, do it with me, 3, 2, 1, glorious.
There you go. Yeah,
both of those teams were dominant forces in the TNA tag division.
Absolutely.
And the funny thing is, and we talk about this all the time in private, I don't think we've had that much discussion about it on the air. When you looked at AMW, everyone swore Wildcat Chris Harris would be the breakout star.
Yep.
And it ended up being James Storm.
Yeah. It's funny to look back, even with arguably, and again, I don't know where there's an argument at this point, arguably the greatest match in TNA history being the X Division match with Styles, Joe, and Daniels. The greatest moment, the biggest wow moment in TNA history is with AMW and Triple X.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yes, being part of it live definitely biases me a little bit more, perhaps, but
you're not wrong. I mean,
yeah,
I easily, on any given day, I would alternate that match being number 1 or number 2 greatest TNA match of all time, with the Unbreakable match being the other one.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of how you feel on any given Sunday.
Yeah,
like for real.
Yeah, like I said, I think that match with the three of them was just so special. And yes, the 6 Sides of Steel match between the two tag teams was a big moment for both of them, especially, of course, the moment itself with Primetime. And then you think, okay, well, AMW broke up when they did, but then Beer Money became what they were, and only broke up briefly as they did because that world championship aspiration, man, it's deadly, it's lethal. It gets up in you. You want to be that guy. You want to be the top dog. And
Mhm.
Bobby Roode just could not help himself. But when
And
they work
again,
together,
yeah, and again, really quickly, mentioning that world title aspirations,
yep,
who would have thought that James Storm would be the first one to get it out of those three?
right? Yeah, and
Chris
beating Kurt Angle.
Harris, Chris Harris, you would have thought would have gotten it out of AMW.
Yeah,
Bobby Roode should have got it. Fucking won the Bound for Glory series
right.
just to job, and then James Storm won it on a whim on the next Impact.
Yeah, that I always found that booking confusing. Like I mean,
Yeah,
it led to Bobby being just ascended, right? But in the
but
moment you go,
still, yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Yeah,
To look at that and think, really, that was the guy that was the world champion first? And again,
yeah,
I'm not taking anything away from James Storm.
no,
Don't get us wrong.
yeah,
But when you looked at those teams, you would have sworn James Storm was going to be the Janetti.
yeah, yeah. But to your point that you've made several times in the last year, James Storm was doing cowboy shit
Before there was cowboy shit.
before there was cowboy shit. That's right. AMW's James Storm by himself. I'll never forget. I watched an early one on TNA Plus. The freaking smoking onions with the double shooter into the roof of the asylum. It's like, yeah, we were still trying early back then, weren't we? The early days was still very sports entertainment-y. That's
Of
okay.
course.
It worked out
And of
great.
and of course, some of you guys may know they've been showing the brand new championships on TNA social media.
Yes. Oh, look at
There
that.
is your new TNA World Tag Team Championship.
Look at that. That's nice. I like it. I think that title, I think the Activision title that Scott gave to
We'll,
Saban
we'll,
yesterday
we'll
was
get to that one. We'll get to that one in a minute.
okay. Okay. All right.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I have plans.
The man has plans. I just don't know all of them.
Number 3.
Ooh, here we go.
Yeah, we told you what was coming in our top 3.
We
We
did.
just we didn't tell you where they were going to be. But number 3 is a man who made his name not in WWF, not in WCW, not in ECW. But by the time he came to TNA, he had made his name legend in Reign of Honor.
Yes.
And he is now your current reigning and defending AEW World Heavyweight Champion, having vanquished our scumbag, Samoa Joe.
Look at that, man. Look at that. Oh. That was such a cool run with him and Kurt in 07. Golly. They were a magic together, the two of them. By the way, Kurt Angle won't be on the list.
No.
But honorable mention for sure.
Yeah, I figured we could touch on some of those guys between 2 and 1 because I thought there was a nice little transition there.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely we can get Angle in there now since we're mentioning Joe and the tag team and all the belt, the original belt collector gimmick.
Right. Yeah, they
take a seat, Omega, you whippersnapper, you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Kurt Angle debuted when Joe was chasing the NWA championship with somebody we're going to talk about later. And Joe was immediately presented as a star. And he was the guy that turned that championship over your shoulder and made sure that no limits was the thing, not weight limits, because Joe is no cruiserweight.
No.
Not at all. But he can move like one, by God. He can wrestle like one, by God. And he did it every single week of the year.
Yep.
And even now, like you said, he's the reigning AEW World Champion. At the end of 2023 on 2024, he was the Ring of Honor World Champion in 03. So he's been, and it was funny. They mentioned last Thursday how durable Joe had been. People think of his WWE career and they go, he's not durable. He's been hurt a lot. Go back prior to WWE and NXT, folks. Expand your horizons. That dude, Samoa
Do
Joe,
your
was.
homework, bro.
There you go. He was what Walter has become for us, Mr. Reliable. Joe could be a face. Joe could be a heel. Joe could be a killer. Joe could do perform whatever role you needed him to do because he was believable. He was legit. He still is legit. I'm still frightened of that man now when I walk up to him. As much as I know he's going to whip that pinky chain, I still approach like, is this guy going to eat me today or what are we going to do with Joe today? Even now, 20 years later. He's a badass. And I love him. And he took that X Division championship and made people realize that if you have the talent, if you have the ability, if you have the desire, you can hang with guys that you, on paper, physical appearance, you should be able to hang with. There is no damn good reason. You look at those three guys side to side in an unbreakable match. Joe, Daniels, and AJ. If you're going in cold that have no knowledge of what's going on, this big fat guy's going to keep with these two guys? No way. No. Joe carried that match, arguably.
Yep.
Definitely a top 3 all time for TNA.
Number 2. Gonna be a little bit controversial. And I know when he watches this back, Noah's gonna grumble. But at the end of the day, there would be no TNA.
Nope.
Without Jeff Jarrett.
Absolutely not.
Period, point blank, bottom line. Oh, Jeff Jarrett had the reign of terror in TNA. He always booked himself to be the champion. Jeff Jarrett. Listen, people. When you have your money invested into a company and you don't have talents locked down to long-term contracts because it is the infancy of the company. If memory serves me correctly, people weren't getting locked down to contracts until they legitimately got a TV deal. When they were on weekly pay-per-view, it was a pay-per-appearance handshake agreement type of thing.
Yep.
So who are you as a promoter, booker, financer going to be able to count on to be there each and every week and never say, oh, well, I'm going to go do this booking instead? Yourself.
Yep.
Jeff Jarrett gets way too much crap for his quote unquote reign of terror.
Yep.
And when you look at things with the proper glasses, a lot of times Jarrett had no choice but to trust and believe in himself because he and his dad, Jerry, had too much invested in the company. You knew Jeff Jarrett was going to be dependable.
Yep.
You knew Jeff Jarrett was going to be there every week.
Yep.
So Jeff Jarrett, as the champion, made sense. Once people started getting locked down to good long-term contracts, once names started to be made in the company, Jeff Jarrett's title reigns seriously cut back. Because he had other people that he could put the company on the shoulders of.
Yeah. If I remember right, and I'll have to go back and look because I didn't have this in front of me because I just didn't. I don't think he held any other championship other than that, what do they call it? The King of the Mountains / Legends / TV Championship after 2006. Because Sting beat him at Bound for Glory, and he was never a champion again in TNA that I recall. He brought in the Mega Championship from AAA but a TNA-based championship. He was not champion again until he got that King of the Mountain run briefly with the actual physical title belt. Because he didn't need to, like you said. The first 4 years of that company, Jarrett was the reliable guy because he was the owner. He did, and I don't recall, and again, I have access to the library now. Thank you, TNA Plus, $10 a month. I don't recall him having a match that you would go, why is this guy the world champion? Still a great wrestler. Traditional, old school, territory guy. Perfect for having the 10 pounds of gold for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's much easier to be in the moment in 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6 as a fan and go, and we did quite a bit on our shows back in the day. Easy target. Much like Triple H. The benefit of hindsight vision as opposed to rose or shit colored glasses in the moment is everything. Both those guys, you look back at 2002, 2006, both those guys, Triple H and Jeff Jarrett, look far more favorable now than they did in the moment.
Yep. Yeah. Jeff Jarrett was not a world champion after June 18th, 2006. That was his last reign, losing it to Steen October 22nd, 06 at Bound for Glory.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's like TNA is 22 years old. He was only champion in parts of 4 of those years. Shut all the way up.
6 times in those 4 years.
Right.
But still, again,
Yeah.
during its infancy, before things really started rolling, and I mean, when you look at the people that held the championship during those early days, of course, we had Shamrock, we had Truth, then Jarrett got his first one. Then I'm going to skip the next one because we're going to go way in depth in him in a minute.
Yes.
Then went back to Truth.
Yep.
Back to Jarrett. Raven got it. He was already established. Rhino got it. He was already established. Christian got it. He was already established.
Yep.
Steen got it. He was already established. Abyss got it. Finally.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until it became the TNA title that the names that they were really making started to become champions.
Exactly.
Joe, Hardy, Anderson, Storm, Rude, Aries, Bully Ray, Sabin, Magnus, EY, Lashley, EC3, Matt Hardy, Drew Galloway, McIntyre, Eddie Edwards, Alberto El Patron. It wasn't until the TNA World title that it really was able to.
Yep.
And people need to keep that in mind. During the NWA run, it was still part of the NWA Championship Committee. They had to get approval to put the title on people.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why the relationship fell apart like it did, because the Jarretts and TNA were just tired of having to go through people like Trobich, and I'm not shitting on Bob Trobich, very nice gentleman, but the two philosophies did not mesh.
Yes.
At that point, 5 years in, it just was what it was. It was business. It's nothing personal. It just was what it was. But Jarrett, the irony of EC3 being the NWA champion, by the way, is funnier than shit to me. I'm just throwing that out there. He's the champion now. It just blows my mind.
TNA champion.
Well, no, but he's the NWA champion now.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's NWA champion now after being the TNA champion, it just, I don't know, but blows my mind that he's been both now. When he was in TNA before, but anyway, I just love that we're able to look back with the benefit of hindsight, because Jeff Jarrett, I know people get on his case even now, but Jeff Jarrett is one of those Iron Man guys where he just finds a way to evolve the character just enough to stay relevant. Hell, Do we ever think we'd have people on our channel, let alone on our fandom group, hating on the Jarretts in 2023? I sure as shit didn't. It's funny to me. I love it though.
Yeah. It's crazy.
What's crazy to me is our number one.
Well, we were going to do honorable
Yes.
mentions. You wanted
Yes.
to mention Kurt
Yes.
Angle.
I did.
I wanted to touch on, the fact that pretty much there's a good chunk of guys that came to TNA, whether they were WWE cast-offs or had legacies already like the Icon Steen, definitely
Yes.
could have fallen onto this list.
Absolutely.
I personally, and I, excuse me, I don't know about you when you were making the list,
Mhm.
but I personally did my damnedest not to put people like Kurt Angle,
Right.
who had been
Yeah.
multi-time WWE champion, world heavyweight champion,
Right.
guys like Christian, who granted hadn't got there yet in WWE, but multiple time tag team, intercontinental champion, champion of
Yeah.
Europe,
Yes.
Dudley's, multiple time tag team champions everywhere they went,
Yes. Yes.
I made an effort not to put those guys. The only people that I really put on this list that had runs in WWF that could be considered decent runs were Jarrett and Gale.
Yeah, and even then.
That's only because they were so integral
Yes.
in molding TNA. Of course, Jarrett, founder, him and Jerry Jarrett founded TNA.
Yep.
Gail Kim damn near created the Knockouts division.
Agreed. Yeah.
And then to a lesser extent, Truth and Joe. Again, Joe made his name in Ring of Honor, but at that point, Ring of Honor was like the number one indie promotion in the world.
Yes. Yes.
He hadn't made it in a major company.
Correct. Right.
Truth had that WWF run, but again, like I stated when we discussed him, the Truth that we know today really had its genesis in TNA.
Yes.
So I made a effort to not put Sting, the Dudleys, Angle, Christian,
Right.
Kennedy, Hardy, those guys on this list because I felt like they're not really TNA stars. They're WWE, WCW, ECW stars that rejuvenated their careers.
Yes.
Inside the confines of TNA.
Yeah, the only guy I was even remotely considering of that group was Sting. And I only had Sting really on my mind and weighed it back and forth a lot because as much as Sting's career got rejuvenated by going to TNA and choosing actively to not sign with WWE, when he very well could have, he also helped put TNA in that discussion of, oh, this guy's here. Wow, let's give them a look. Because people, even now and definitely back then, had so much respect for Sting. Sting was that guy that arguably, and again, I'm sure people would have different discussions, Bischoff or whoever, money-wise, always seemed to make it more about the company succeeding more than his own financial situation. There was no reason other than his legitimate worry that he and I discussed one-on-one about what a Vince McMahon would do with Sting that kept him out of that company for as long as it did. And he helped TNA really make some noise. Other than that, 100% agree with you. But again, there were enough stars established in TNA, be it the guys that came over, be it the guys that kind of grew from the ground up as the company did, that Sting gets arguably the highest of the honorable mentions but isn't one of the stars that was created in TNA.
Yes.
His star power helped establish TNA, not the other way around.
Agreed. I think that's a fair assessment there. And then we come to number 1. And when you're talking top 10 stars of all time for TNA, there can be only one. And there is no other word to describe him except for simply phenomenal.
Oh, I love that picture. I always have.
There's a reason that he was declared Mr. TNA. Period, point blank, end of story. Don't at me with your arguments. Don't try to debate me.
No.
There is no debate.
No, there's not. God, it's a baby face. Look at him. My goodness. That's the guy we met.
Hashtag that's my AJ.
Right. No kid. Like
Not this long-haired hippie freaking dad beard guy that I see on Raw every week.
Soccer mom.
That's not
soccer mom
AJ.
hair and the dad beard. You gotta love that combination, right? Yeah. We love you, AJ. Shut up with your nonsense. But yeah, the fact that he was the first X Division champion, the first match in TNA history the week before he won the title, he was one of the first guys out there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, we can go on for another hour just on AJ alone at this point, because that's how important, how crucial, how much of a integral cog in the wheel that was TNA for well over a decade. And it's crazy to think that when he left at the end of 2013, we thought both of them, the company and the man, were screwed. And here we are.
Yep.
TNA's rebranding, and AJ's in the main event of a Royal Rumble pay-per-view for the title 2 weeks after the return of TNA. But nah, they're both dead. Nope. That's how talented he is. That's how important this company has become. And they are the reason for that are intertwined forever. TNA put AJ on the map. AJ put TNA on the map. Whatever else he does going forward, he will always be the guy from TNA. It doesn't matter how many times he wins the WWE Championship, how many accolades he gets, and they are favorable and they will always be mentioned. But AJ Styles is TNA wrestling.
Yes.
That's the tweet, as they say. Yeah. That's the X. X Division. Oh, I hurt myself. Oh shit. Ironically, it's on X now, so the X Division.
Speaking of the X Division.
Ooh, look at that. I like that. I've had some people say that's the best looking one yet, and I'm going, I don't know. The one over your shoulder is classic. Yeah.
It is simple in its design.
Yes.
I mean, it's the NWA TNA logo at the top.
Right.
A huge red X.
Yes.
Title. That's it.
That's it.
X Division title.
Again, X marks the spot. I think of the ones with the TNA only, not NWA branding, I would concede that's the best looking one. The one they unveiled yesterday. But there is no beating the original. And again, that was the title that Ricky Steamboat had in AJ Styles, week 2.
Yep.
after a hell of a round robin match. So I can't say enough good things about the on-screen character, the man, the athlete, the professional. He's just on another level, and he has been the entirety of his time on our screens.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that AJ Styles is greatness on a different level?
I am.
Is he God mode?
We will find out in a couple weeks, methinks. Because somebody's got to be the one to take them down. And we'll see if my thought. Well, I mean, we'll get into the Rumble later, but my thought process is he'll be involved in the match, obviously, but I don't think he'll be involved in the finish.
We'll have to find out.
I think, unfortunately, a certain friend of ours who wants us to talk to you is going to take the fall to the Legend Killer, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the fact that AJ's in serious, like all likelihood, going to be in a featured contest with that man everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is testament is testimony of how good he still is.
Yep.
In 2024, 22 years after he gets his big national opportunity in WCW, we're out of business. Just kidding.
Yeah.
And then a year, arguably in limbo. Yeah, NWA Wildside was a thing, and whatever, but gets this big opportunity in the tournament for what could have been a great championship had it actually been able to be sustained. The Cruiserweight tag titles. And now you go back and look like, who the hell's Eric Paris? Who's that guy? Oh, Styles. Oh, you mean AJ Styles? Yeah, I know that guy. He's just the best. And he's a good person, which is so rare.
Yes.
Love that man.
Speaking of good people, let's get to our shills here, good sir.
Yes.
First and foremost, on its new night and time.
Woo-hoo. Yes, if I can get my throat, voice, chest, all the things to cooperate tonight, I will be there for at least a half hour. It might be 15 tonight, for honesty. But yeah, we'll talk about what's going on. We've got Hard to Kill this weekend. We've got the Royal Rumble coming up. There's always something to discuss and talk wrestling about. So long as the companies keep giving me news, I'll be there on a Monday night, brother.
There you go. Then on Tuesday night, Stat Boy Sports Bar every Tuesday. As you notice, we did get rid of the featuring Dory Lou. Dory Lou has not been fired. She has not been thrown out of the bar and excommunicated. We just wanted to take some of the stress off of her shoulders.
Absolutely. Yes.
So when she is available, she will still very much be there and be an active participant. I believe she's supposed to be there this Tuesday.
That's my
When
understanding.
she is unable to be there, it's not a big deal, but we felt that if we continued to advertise Stat Boy Sports Bar featuring Dory Lou and then Dory Lou was not there, it's false advertising.
Exactly.
So we decided to just go back to the original Stat Boy Sports Bar branding with the regular shenanigans that tend to befall us on Tuesdays. New time, 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern.
Yes.
We did that last week for New Year's Evil, and we just figured let's just leave it there. That way, if another NXT watch along or something comes along, we don't have to try to shuffle and move it.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things that, starting at 4 our time, we would bleed into 5:30 more often than not, and my availability to be picked up and got out of the studio and go home was challenging. So just a number of factors, but yeah, I'm excuse me, sorry, I'm trying. I enjoy doing the sports bar, and we're finally out of the regular NFL season. We're pushing toward the Super Bowl. God help us. And there's a lot of cool stuff going on right now. Again, all the sports are active right now except Major League Baseball, and there's already off-season talk about that too. There's a lot of talk about the Dodgers yesterday and over the weekend, so we'll definitely get into all of that tomorrow.
And then on Wednesday,
Yes. This
The
is the
great-
last. Oh, sorry.
go ahead. I was going to let you do it, but you sounded like you were going to let me do it because of your voice, but go ahead.
I'm sorry, Rob. I'm going to keep talking over you. I know we talked about this yesterday. Yeah, the Greg Cherry Show. Again, this is going to be the last quote unquote normal Greg Cherry Show of the month. We've got Luck of the Draw next week. We've got the Rumbles Draw show in 2 weeks, which is going to benefit the 988 charity. We'll talk more about that later. But yeah, Greg Cherry Show is always fun. It's the hour during the week where we just kind of go, we Cody Rhodes it. So what do you want to talk about? And we just go for it for an hour, and we stick to it, man. We do the hour, and then Dynamite's on, and that's it. We're done. We go off the air. It's a wonderful little thing, and much like Dory Lou on Tuesday, there's no pressure if I'm not there, and I might not be with his damn throat. So give Greg Cherry Brandon show a watch. I always recommend it.
Definitely. And then comes Saturday. The reason we had the theme tonight, the return of TNA Wrestling, Hard to Kill. I believe our coverage is going to begin at 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, because their 0 hour, their countdown is supposed to start at 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern. So we want to at least give ourselves 30 minutes on air to hype things up. We may go ahead and do it at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 Eastern. Time Tibbid, but I mean, countdown, we got Rich Swann versus Steve Macklin. We got Tommy Dreamer versus Crazy Steve for the Digital Media Championship. We've got Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers versus Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian, and that's just the countdown.
Right?
All that star power.
Yeah.
Then you move to the main card. We got Josh Alexander and Alex Hammerstone. We've got PCO versus Dirty Dango.
Goodness
I'm
gracious.
still dumbfounded the fact that Pierre Carl Ouellette is still a thing in 2024.
Right.
We've got Sabin versus Vikingo versus Kushida for the X Division title. We've got a women's Ultimate X match, Knockouts Ultimate X. Tasha Steelz, Alicia Edwards, Giselle Shaw, Jody Threat, Zaya Brookside, and Danny Luna. We have the tag titles on the line. Speedball Mike Bailey and Trent Seven, the Grizzled Young Vets, the Rascals, the ABC. We've got the world title, Alex Shelley defending against Moose. We have the Knockouts title as Jordan Grace challenges Trinity in what may be her final TNA match.
Yeah.
Lots of speculation that her contract ends in January, and we could be seeing her in St. Petersburg come January 27th. Lots of rumors. And
Crazy
then
to think about, man.
You won't believe who is showing up on January 13th. That is the only hype that has been given about that.
Right? It's enough hype, though.
You know, who could possibly be showing up on January 13th for TNA Hard to Kill? Could it be Jeff Jarrett?
Yeah.
Could it be Samoa Joe? Could it be Steen as part of his farewell tour?
Right?
Could a deal have been worked out? Could we see the Phenomenal One? You know, could we see Abyss?
Yeah.
You know, Joseph Parks, Chris Parks, whatever, he's just an agent for WWE. I'm sure they could part with him for one night.
Yes.
To let him put the mask and gimmick back on and go out there for one night, hit a black hole slam on somebody and be out of there.
I'll be okay with that.
You know, there's so many questions. Could it be Dixie?
Right?
You know, I mean, I'm sure probably scars some people, but I mean, But I mean, Dixie was so integral to TNA. Could we see, could we see Jeff Jarrett, Dixie Carter, and Scott D'Amore all in the ring together?
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Like the eras, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Oh yeah. Oh
could
yeah.
it be Vince Russo, bro?
Oh my
Could Vince
God.
Russo be back in TNA, bro?
Even for a night, bro.
You never know. And I'm looking forward to seeing who it is.
I am too.
And then, of
Again.
course, immediately following all of that,
Yes. Woohoo.
Noah, the simple man with the spectacular voice, takes over the hosting duties, much as he did 1 year ago, and he will be hosting the second anniversary episode of Open Mic Night.
Wow. It's crazy, man. 2 years.
Don't know what
Literally,
all. Go ahead.
literally birthed out of a just bullshit discussion with he and James and I after a Turning Point TNA pay-per-view, ironically.
Mm-hmm.
And just crazy the synergy of things that it lines up to be a post TNA Open Mic Night. Pretty cool.
Don't know what we'll be talking about. I'm sure some of the conversation will center around the return of TNA wrestling and Hard to Kill. It's only Monday. The news hasn't
Right.
really begun to flow for the week, and let's hope it
Yeah.
stays a slow week.
Yeah,
But,
right.
Whatever the topics are, I still will come up with the topics. I will send them out, and Noah will be the one to kind of engage us in the conversation and the discourse. He did it last year, did it so well. We're letting him take over the reins again this year.
I love it. I love it.
And that's going to just about wrap things up.
Shit, man. Not bad. Hour and a half. I'll take it.
Right? I mean, not as quick as we did for some of those Christmas episodes, but still for me and you to be done under 2 is still an accomplishment.
Especially about TNA.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we were so enamored with that product, and it was such a big part of our PWG experience that,
There was a time there where I felt that TNA was better than the current WWF product.
oh
WWE
yeah,
product.
and it was.
And yeah. And people didn't want to hear it. And they thought that it was going to die a slow, painful death. And here we are, 22 years later, still around, still kicking, rebranded back to the original name. Honestly, I'd love if they had this backdrop for that pay-per-view on Saturday. Have those letters just for one night.
That'd be cool. That'd
for
be
the
cool.
throwback. But,
Yes.
Yeah, the way I was during that 04, 05, 06 period of TNA very much reminds me of the way that Noah and Dattila are these days about TNA.
Absolutely.
And how passionate they are about it. Got to stop sleeping on TNA. Got to stop sleeping on Impact Wrestling.
It's true.
That was me back then.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I bought the DVDs.
Oh yes.
I had the best of the X Division, the best of the bloodiest brawls, the best of AJ Styles.
1 and 2 volumes.
Yeah. I think I only had the first. The best of Raven.
Yes.
I had all of those.
Yeah, people forget, man. Raven was such a huge, huge part of the early days, and that his struggle to become NWA champion, and then he finally got it, and it was brief. It was like, oh man, such a great story.
With Shane Douglas.
Yes, yes.
If you watch Franchise U with Shane Douglas, he talks a lot about that feud. That was so good.
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't get to touch more on ECW when they were still both in their prime, but their stuff in TNA was really solid.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress.
So anyways, yeah, but we digress. Buy the T-shirt. We all know that I did.
You did. I was there. I saw it.
We thank you guys for joining us and tuning in today for this episode of the Dads Not Always on Wrestling. For the West Coast Professor, Jeff Meacham, I am, of course, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Thank you for tuning in and joining us today, and we we'll see you guys later.